Welcome to the show with no name. This is someday in September the 14th?
I think it is.
September the 14th. Must be because last Friday it was September the 7th. I think.
Okay.
And next Friday will probably be the 21st.
Okay, whatever you
Anyway,
say.
I'm Bob Going with Jim Nikosha. Gavin Murdoch could not be here today. He's learning how to be a school board member after serving 30-some years in the educational system, including being a principal and a superintendent of schools. But hey, it's important that he passed the phony baloney course. They say They say he won't be able to vote on things if he.
Sponsored by the teachers union.
He says not, but
No, he said not. But yeah, one of the strongest unions in the country. Teachers.
Well, what are they doing in Chicago? I mean,
wow.
they're just kind of pushing the envelope there.
Yeah. They're talking.
Now, everybody in the country is broke. They are either the highest or the second highest paid school district in the country.
Oh, are they?
They were offered a 16% raise, and so they go on strike.
A 16%.
Yeah, they turned down the 16% raise because it included things that like teacher evaluation. So I don't want any. We don't want no stinking teacher evaluations. They turned down a 16% raise and closed the schools. And of course, they figure because they own the Democratic Party that they can get whatever they want right now.
16%. I never ever saw a 16%. I never saw a 10%.
No, not even in times of high inflation.
No.
And we're talking about times of recession and, well, the inflation's coming if you looked at the gasoline prices in the last 2 days.
Wasn't that something?
Wow.
It jumped 5 cents.
We did 5 cents, it jumped about 50 cents.
Well, yeah, no, but from morning to night it jumped 5 cents.
Yeah, it's up to like 4.20 now. You know? Yeah.
4.20?
Yeah, I'm telling you, check this morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They said I heard something that they wanted to do away with zone pricing. Or they're bitching about zone pricing, which means that Schenectady is always cheaper than Amsterdam.
Right.
Rotterdam Junction was cheaper than Amsterdam.
Yeah, but there are economic reasons for that. It would be, you know.
Well, no, at the time I worked for a gas station, or a guy that delivered gas, and he said that there was a cutoff point for transportation.
Yeah.
Between Rotterdam and Amsterdam, and beyond that point you paid a little bit extra.
Well, that's to come farther.
Yeah, half a mile, 2 miles.
Well, it has to come. Well, there has to be a point someplace where it makes economic sense. So that's it. And we're fewer and fewer people here using it, and they still got to maintain all the. That's why it costs more to deliver power or cable TV to the one house in the country, where there's 5 houses on the road, as opposed to in the city where you can go boom, 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 and clean up.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, it's none of our business. Wow. They used to call this Crow Hill up this way.
Did they really?
Yeah, or at least the Henrietta section, which
they're here, so.
Which is practically part of the same.
They just wanted you to know that's what it was.
They're the bosses, and the hawks are circling overhead. I don't know. I mean, hawks are beautiful to watch. I don't know if you can see that one up there. It's kind of circling.
Yeah.
And there's usually about 8 or 10 of them floating around there.
I can see them from my backyard. I get there with the binoculars watching them, and my wife gives me hell. She thinks that I'm looking at the neighbors, but there's no neighbors to look at.
Yeah, well, there you go. I'm sure your neighbors will be happy to hear that. But when you're lying on the pool on your back and you look up and you see these hawks circling, you
hope that they're not vultures, right?
It's a little unnerving. Oh well, in the spring sometimes I get these turkey vultures come and they nest before these trees have their leaves. They all look like something out of Alfred Hitchcock or Tim Burton. So you got they're all sitting on the edge of these locust trees, and there's like 20, 30, 40 of them.
Really?
And they got like a 6-foot wingspan.
Yeah, they're big.
And sometimes they just all get up at once and they fly right toward the big window on the staircase there, right at us, and then they swoop up over the house. It's incredible. And they're nasty little animals. They feed on carrion, so it's usually at the time when my swimming pool has gotten overripe, you know, which sometimes happens with all the leaves and stuff. You know, I've opened it in the spring and found frogs in there, so sometimes.
Yeah.
So no matter how much chlorine you put in the fall, sometimes it just wears out. Anyway, so they're just like waiting for the frogs to die, I think. They won't eat them until they're dead.
The back of my house's windows, and I sit in that room, and every once in a while, bang, and a bird hits the window. I found one.
Your wife keeps them too clean.
One died, but most of them, they hit the floor and they flutter a little bit and they take off, but one never made it. He hit too hard. It was a blue jay.
Yeah, they make too much noise anyway.
Yeah, they can get nasty.
Well, the big news this week, of course, is what's going on in the Middle East or the Arabic world or whatever you want to call it. So it's a strange thing to kind of figure out even a couple of days into this what exactly is going on. I mean, it's clearly an organized 9/11 thing because that's when it started. What did I say today is the 14th, so it's been going 3 days now. 3 days. This whole thing, I mean, the whole excuse is that the mobs are getting enraged because of this anti-Muhammad movie that's supposedly... I'm reading more about that this morning, and I've watched the clips on YouTube. There doesn't appear to be a movie. As far as no one is actually, you know, supposedly there's this movie.
Oh, really?
All there is like a 14-minute trailer for this movie that doesn't. It's not even clear that it is what it says it is. Some of the actors said their voices were dubbed afterwards. They had no idea they were involved in a Muhammad movie. yeah. So they changed all the dialogue, and it's horrible. I mean, let me tell you, the production values of the show with no name are vastly superior to the production values of this movie. Although they did seem to have a lot of lighting, but it is so bad. The dialogue is terrible. Read by actors who can't act, and what's in the clip is so totally disjointed. It looks like it might be clips from several other movies. You know, kind of like what was the name of that Woody Allen movie? What's Up, Tiger Lily? Remember where he took he bought a real Japanese movie, a Japanese adventure spy movie or something, and he dubbed it into English with Woody Allen dialogue.
No, I didn't
dialect. It all became about stealing a recipe for egg salad with mustard or something. I forget exactly what the details are.
I didn't read the paper too much today, but I did read the article about the robber in, I forgot where. They cut off his right hand and his left foot publicly because Shahara law said that if you're a robber, and it said there was seven people that were done out of sight of the courtyard, but they made an example of this guy so that the people could see what happened.
Yeah, I mean that's fairly common. I mean that's.
He says he was in.
Matter of fact, I wrote a law school report using that.
He said he was in such horrible pain from it. They just.
Oh, you think?
They just whack it off and they take him to the hospital and say, take care of him. That's.
Yeah.
Inhuman.
Well, I actually, in law school, I was in a tax policy seminar, and the issue was whether taxes should be indexed for inflation. Okay. In other words, you know, you shouldn't be thrown into a higher category just because the value of the dollar goes down, and now you're making. So the example I used is. A common thief in the Middle East. All right, and he steals a $5,000 car, and according to the law, for $5,000, steal $5,000, you lose one finger, right? So they chop off one finger. I just made this.
Okay.
I made up the whole legal system. I said so. The next year. He buys a car that's just as old and just as or he steals a car that's just as old and just as beat up, but because of inflation, It's now a $10,000 car.
So now you got to lose
So
two.
now you guys got to lose 2 fingers. And I said that's not fair. And the tax commissioner of the state of New York, Jim Tully, co-taught that class, and he says, he says, I never thought about it like that before. He says, you're absolutely right, because he wasn't a fan of indexing for inflation on tax rates, but he says, no, you're absolutely right.
Yesterday, I heard the talk show, the other talk show.
Oh, on the other station?
The other station.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the budget. The other things. I ran up in my office and I went through the file and I found the 2007-8 budget.
Okay. That's one you worked on.
Yeah. We had set up 3 different funds.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said once before, one for tax stabilization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, capital
funds.
Yeah. There's like 5 different categories you could use.
I think it amounted to close to $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, well, where is it? Well, what happened to it? So I asked Ron Wisbicki, and he said he didn't see anything in the budget with that name or that any number. So this morning I said, well, maybe somebody will bring the thing up because of the newspaper article. Somebody will bring up the roof and the other repairs that they want to do. So I pulled out the budget again, and sure enough, there's $50,000 in the budget for the roof repair. City Hall repairs. And another $250,000 in the contingency under special items. Where in H is that money? How did she spend it all?
Oh, it was incredible. Well, first of all, on the City Hall repairs, she spent buying drapes, rugs, and painting the place, and then and doing over the old recreation building.
Yeah, but where's the other $250,000 in contingency in that line item, in that fund?
Oh my God, they were spending money like water. I mean, I'm sure all those.
But now they want a bond for it now.
Well, yes. I talked to somebody the other day because we got the running question on what happened to the $2.5 million Restore New York grant. Well, it appears they did screw up and that they did lose it, and that all they have available is the $500,000 now instead of the $2.5 million because they didn't file some paperwork.
Yep.
I'm going to get the details from Albany because you're obviously not going to get it out of City Hall because and you couldn't trust what you got out of there anyway. But so yeah, I was right. They screwed up. They screwed up.
They sure did.
Threw $2 million away. Anyway, back to the news of the day, which is the Middle East. Are there 2 different worlds we live in? The people in Washington live in one world and everybody else lives in another?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so.
Did you think the big story the next day was, did Mitt Romney jump the gun? Personally, I think everything he said was pitch perfect correct.
It's just the wrong day to do it.
No, it wasn't the wrong day to do it. He was first of all, it was before before anybody, including Obama, knew that the ambassador had been killed in Libya. Romney was talking about the idiot comments that came out of the embassy in Cairo, where after they're besieged, they essentially were apologizing to the people who were besieging them, saying, oh, some people abuse their free speech rights and we think it's horrible what they're doing and we agree with you.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And it took 16 hours before Washington pulled back those remarks and said, no, we don't agree with that. And it was only after they were taking the heat from Romney and some other people.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
I missed that.
That's what that was about.
I missed that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I think the first person to react to that, what was going on in Cairo, was Sarah Palin on Facebook, and it still holds up 3 days later. So I want to read this to you.
All right.
Apparently, President Obama can't see Egypt and Libya from his house.
Well, she took enough flack about that,
Yeah.
didn't she?
On the anniversary of the worst terrorist attacks ever perpetrated on America, our embassy in Cairo and our consulate in Benghazi were attacked by violent Islamic mobs. In Cairo, they scaled the walls of our embassy, destroyed our flag, and replaced it with a black Islamic banner. In Benghazi, the armed gunmen set fire to our consulate and killed an American staff member. See, at this point, they didn't know the ambassador. She didn't know the ambassador was dead. The Islamic radicals claim that these attacks are in protest to some film criticizing Islam. In response to this, the U.S. Embassy in Cairo issued a statement that was so outrageous, many of us thought it must be a satire. The embassy actually apologized to the violent mob attacking us, and it even went so far as to chastise those who use free speech to, quote, hurt the religious feelings of Muslims, unquote. Parenthesis. Funny, the current administration has no problem hurting the religious feelings of Catholics. Close parenthesis. But where is the president's statement about this? These countries represent his much-touted Arab Spring. How's that Arab Spring working out for us now? Have we received an apology yet from our friends in the Muslim Brotherhood for the assault on our embassy? It's about time our president stood up for America and condemned these Islamic extremists. I realize there must be a lot on his mind these days, what with our economy's abysmal jobless numbers and Moody's new warning about yet another downgrade to our nation's credit rating due to the current administration's failure to come up with a credible deficit reduction plan. And of course he has a busy schedule with all those rounds of golf, softball interviews with the pimp with the limp, and fundraising dinners with his corporate cronies. But our nation's security should be of utmost importance to our commander-in-chief. America can't afford any more leading from behind in such a dangerous world. We already know that President Obama likes to speak softly to our enemies. If he doesn't have a big stick to carry, maybe it's time for him to grow one.
Oh, wow.
And so what's the president's reaction? After 16 hours, he kind of hems and haws and says, well, we didn't authorize what came out of... meanwhile, all the emphasis on let's find those people who made this movie and make an example out of them. Holy crap!
Yeah.
No.
Or find. Or
No, Charles Krauthammer had exactly right. This is when you say to the Egyptians, go to hell.
And pull back.
You know, we believe in free speech in this country, and if you find it offensive, well, maybe we find it offensive, but too bad. Too bad we don't go killing people over it.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
It's ridiculous.
So, yeah.
And obviously this thing in Libya, I mean, when they're using rocket-propelled grenades and stuff like that, clearly this was not just a spontaneous mob upset about a trailer of a film that doesn't exist,
No.
that was released in June of this year.
It had to have been.
Yeah, and just coincidentally on September 11th, the whole Arab world is up in arms about it.
Yeah.
So what does the president do?
Make an apology.
No, he gets on a plane and goes to Las Vegas to meet with some more fundraising people. That's what he did. Yeah. So they started looking around, you know, the issue came up about Romney not getting national security briefings. So some people in the press started looking into it and checking the president's daily schedule. He's been skipping his national security briefings for the last week. The last one he had before this incident was September 5th.
Somebody said he hasn't been.
Labor Day.
Taking care of business in quite a while.
No, but not even getting his morning intelligence reports. He didn't even know the ambassador had been killed till the next day. Now what the hell kind of?
Yeah. Well, that's what we got down there.
He doesn't need it. He can absorb all that stuff. He can absorb it. He's Superman. Anyway, it's outrageous, you know. And of course, the Blame America First crowd is, like Cher wanted that. Who was that? pastor down in Florida wanted to burn the Koran.
Right,
She
yeah.
wanted him killed.
Yeah.
As a result of this, and they're, the Justice Department is looking for who made this film to see if they can bring murder charges against them, for making the film. Yeah. Oh yeah, they've opened a criminal investigation. The FBI's out there.
Oh wow, wow.
And then the story was all over the place that the Marines in the Cairo embassy were not allowed to have live ammunition. They were allowed to have their weapons, but they weren't allowed to have ammunition.
That can't be.
Yeah. Well, it appears to be true. It appears to be true. The Pentagon issued a denial of it that was written in such a way when you read it, it's got all the weasel words in it. That doesn't say they actually did have live ammunition. All it said is that they were properly armed.
Yeah, properly armed. No,
Yep.
That's not properly armed.
No.
No ammunition is not properly armed.
Yeah. And then this left-wing newspaper, or liberal anyway, newspaper in England says point blank that the United States had credible evidence 2 days ahead of time that these attacks were coming in Benghazi and Cairo, and did nothing about it. This poor ambassador didn't even have a Marine Guard with him when he went there. They were relying on the Libyan guard and all the. Now here we got secretary. Everybody's trying to. Instead of solving the problem and going out there and figuring out what to do next, it's how do you cover your ass.
Yeah.
And Hillary, the sainted Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, says, well, we're proud that our security and the Libyan security fought side by side on the same side to try to prevent this from happening. Well, it turns out, shortly thereafter, that the Libyan security told the ambassador, go to the safe house over here. And then they, as soon as they did, then the same security people pointed out to the terrorists where they were. And that's how he got killed. Yeah.
Sad state of affairs.
And raped and dragged through the streets before he was killed. Yeah, it's just great stuff. Must be.
And we'll send them.
And what do you get from the Egyptian government, the Muslim Brotherhood, that this Arab Spring stuff that we promoted got rid of our ally to substitute a far worse dictatorship? Well, it's understandable why the people would be upset because of that movie. You got to understand what people are, how we feel in the Muslim world. Too bad for you. Too bad for you.
Yeah, well,
we give them $1 billion freaking dollars a year. The immediate answer is very simple. You will get no aid for 5 years, and if anything else happens, you will get no aid for 10 years, and stick to it.
Yep.
These are the actions have consequences. You have to protect the sovereign territory of your foreign guests.
Allies. Your allies.
And even when they're not allies, even their enemies.
Well, even their enemies. Yeah.
Otherwise, everybody's fair game. This is just so nuts. And this whole naive foreign policy of Obama. Well, if I just tell these people we're with them, they'll respect us.
Yeah.
Baloney.
Yeah.
That never has worked in the history of mankind, and it sure as hell isn't working now.
Well, there's only one solution. We have to vote him out.
Huh?
We have to vote him out.
Well, that should be easy enough.
I hope.
Yeah.
Hope. I went to another subject. I went to the fundraiser Wednesday for SICE and.
For the
15th,
judges.
15th.
Yeah, I was stuck at another meeting. I couldn't go.
It was a very nice affair.
That was up at the golf course,
Yes,
Rolling Hills.
Rolling Hills. It was very nice, big crowd.
Good.
So,
They're having fun. This way, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
This could be the last campaign for both of them. I got to think.
yeah.
You know?
They have to retire at 60.
Well, 70.
70?
They have to retire at 70.
Well,
let's see. How old is Joe?
If they win, if Joe wins, he'll be 61 at the end of his term.
Wow.
I think he's 41 now.
No. He's older than my brother. He
47.
He was born about 64, so he's 47, 48.
Yeah, I think he said it. 47.
All right, so you add 14 years to that, you get up to 61. Yeah, he can go for another term.
Yeah.
Boy, Felix would be crazy too. Felix will be almost 70, I guess, or will he be 70? He was born at 57, so it's 55, and 14 is only 69. Well, technically he could run for another term. Yeah. Yeah, maybe he'll do that. Well, so I take it all back. Those guys are younger than I remember.
And some are older.
Wow.
So, I haven't heard of anything else going on in the city.
Well, I see they had a meeting at the Arts Center here.
Oh, I didn't see that. Was it in?
Oh, I guess I saw it on Facebook. Dan Weaver posted it. Maybe it's now. I don't know. It wasn't clear when the meeting.
See, the big news is the noteworthy having their big auction.
Oh my Lord! Well, sale. I've been, as you know, I've been through 100 Church Street, and the stuff that's in there is, just they kind of used it as a dumping ground for a lot of their stuff over the years. And there's artwork, and there's, all kinds of stuff.
The hoarder, right?
The stuff, a lot of the, the Christmas. Those big Christmas displays. I'm not sure that the whole Christmas museum ended up at 100. Most of that probably went over to the Forest Avenue site, but they had to clear that out when they sold that church, the old Methodist church on Forest Avenue. So and Carroll closed the big house down on Locust and sold it. So they got all this stuff from the house, and Tom used to collect this stuff. I mean, he
was a collector.
I was talking to a guy who used to work for him, and he said, they'd go to, these trade shows in different places, and Tom would be off somewhere in the hinterlands picking up stuff to send home. So it's like reminded me of
Sanford and Son.
No, Charles Foster Kane, or Citizen Kane. Reminded me of Citizen Kane going around, and it was based on William Randolph Hearst, just going around and collecting statues, and And of course, Tom, the donkey collection's not for sale, Carol says.
Yeah.
But they had these beautiful creches from around the world that he picked up, and stained glass windows. Just all kinds of.
They should call that
fascinating stuff.
The pickers, the American pickers, or whatever.
Oh my God! Well, this is most of this is beyond the stuff they look for.
You think so?
Yeah, there's no rusty. There's no rusty bicycles in this collection, and it's going to go like 2 full weeks, I guess. This sale.
3 different sales, I think.
Yeah,
you said?
yeah. And as big as 100 Church Street is. I've seen how this stuff was all scattered and stored, and I just can't imagine the work that's going into assembling this stuff. First of all, clearing the space. They had the dumpsters there for a couple of weeks, so I think they got rid of a lot of stuff, and then they moving their old files and stuff somewhere else. But I can't imagine how the logistics of putting this thing together, and it should be great. Yeah. Of course, Carol's practically related to me, so I'm kind of hoping she'll give me an advanced.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
advanced pick of the.
Anybody wants to go to the auction can see it.
Well, yeah. Anybody wants to go. Well, it's not even an auction. I think it's a sale. I don't even think it's an auction. I think it's a tag sale.
Oh really?
It's like a garage sale.
I thought it was.
Is it? I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm not sure, but it's.
I just thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I thought too, but somebody told me no. It's a tag sale. So it's like, I'm sure you can
like a garage sale.
Pick up things for a dime.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, jeepers. Well, there comes a point in time where you just got to do that stuff. It's collecting dust, nobody's seeing it, nobody's using it.
Yeah, yeah. It's no interest from anybody in the family. So,
well, it's just too much. I mean, it's more stuff than you would put in any one house or one office, or it's fantastic.
The building there is big enough probably to spread it out so it can be.
I mean, my God, you have no idea how much office furniture and computers and everything else is. Oh my God. Well, Tom, of course, had bought the Mohawk property, the Mahasko property, before it burned down.
Yeah.
And they had all, they had mountains of office furniture that he got with the sale. I don't know whatever happened to that. I had a desk that came from Mahasko that I bought for like $50 or something from somebody, and I don't remember what I did with it, because I went looking for it one day, and I was like, what the hell? It weighed a ton. I remember that, but it was green. That's why I know I don't have it. I don't know where it is. I don't remember selling it. Maybe I did. Maybe I gave it to somebody.
Probably gave it away.
I don't remember doing it though. I'm usually pretty good about stuff I give away. I don't do it. But boy, yeah, that should be terrific. I'm really looking forward to that museum. I hope everything goes well. We got trying to get a mortgage on the place. I'm looking to lease out some more of the building to.
I was going to say that's got to be a difficult thing. With
well, that's the key is if we can get enough people, enough tenants, it'll provide us a regular flow of income for the museum, as well as obviously supporting the building.
Would be a little bit easier.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. But, it's got 3 rentals now, but.
Really?
It's a relatively small portion of the 90,000.
They have a gymnasium in there.
Oh my God! You wouldn't believe this. After Electrometrics moved out, you know how nature abhors a vacuum. You just somebody say, I could move the other side to that building and have twice as much space. Yeah, go ahead, do it. Why not? They got the building. They weren't doing anything with it. And they turned the west or east end of the second floor into a gym for the staff.
Oh, was it for the staff?
Oh yeah, and there's also kickboxing or something is one of the rentals somewhere, and I haven't seen that space.
Martial arts, mixed martial arts.
So I don't know what it is. But they rent space someplace, so I don't know. That could be. But the company gym was. They had a shower put in, and
somebody asked me about
it's huge space, and we call that end the galleries, because you got especially the second floor rooms are huge, and well lit, and overlooking the creek. They'd make a nice restaurant or something, or banquet room, and but we want to keep that. Well. Any number of reasons, but it's great assembly space, and it does have gym floors, and they have volleyball nets and weight machines, and stationary bikes and all that stuff, and boxing bags and
bead bag and heavy bag.
Yeah.
That's great. So those are the couple of the pluses for the city. One of the negatives is that Crystal is closing down on Monday.
It is. Wish I had time to go there for lunch today.
It's sad. I got a doctor's appointment at noon. My cancer doctor. Every 6 months I have to go check up. He listens to my heart, and that's about it.
Is he open Monday, or is he closing? This weekend.
I think he said Monday. I think Monday he's going to be open, close at night. If I read it right, and he's going to have all the people come and say their final goodbyes
and get rid of all that food.
Get rid of all the food that he's got. I think that's one of the things that he said. So I run out of food.
I tell you, one of the best meals. This has nothing to do with Tony, but it's a similar situation. One of the best meals I ever had in my life was when the Milanos bought Joseph's 2 next to the Super 8 Motel. And Joseph's 2 was run by Joey Pep and Joe Isabel, as you recall. So we had like an all-day feast over there while Joey Pep was trying to get rid of.
Oh, really?
Oh my God! I mean, we ate for like 4 hours straight.
Whatever he had was cooked.
Oh, you know, with the pasta and the shrimp and the mussels. And you know what? Here, have some crab leg. It was.
The sad part
and
is
then the desserts, and then
you can only eat so much. That's the problem.
Well, that's it. And so I'm like the guy in Monty Python's Meaning of Life, you know, where I can't have another thing. No, just one little thin mint, sir. Yeah, no. And then I get home and what the heck? My wife said, "Oh, I made your favorite coquille Saint-Jacques." I said, "Oh boy."
And you didn't dare say
I didn't dare say I'd just been eating for 4 hours straight.
Yeah, that happens.
I could hardly get out of my car to go into the house.
That happens quite often. You can't say a word.
No, can't say a word. Oh man, what a feast that was! And Joey just came. Joey was a good chef.
Yeah, Joe was.
Yeah. Remember we used to do that cooking show on the Channel 8?
Yeah.
I guess it was Channel 8, wasn't it? The Gateway.
I don't remember what.
Yeah, the Gateway Channel, and where they used to do the Pat Beck show and the news. And
I didn't watch TV back in those days.
you didn't?
Didn't have time.
Didn't have time. Wow. Well, I think he had one of those overhead mirrors, even where they shoot the mirror and show, so you see this.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when Isabel ran that company, they did some inventive stuff. You know.
They did. They were innovative, and if he had stayed, if he had listened to his advisors, he probably would have been just like Time Warner or Comcast. One of those.
Yeah.
He was the first one in the business.
Yeah. Well, it's tough when they're dangling that kind of money in front of you. You know, it's.
Yeah. Well, even before they dangled the money in front of him, he wasn't taking the advice of his.
It was
financial people.
It was a lot of fun, the early days of cable TV. It really was.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I lived next door to this place on West Main Street, and we had free cable because my mother-in-law and his mother were very, very good friends. So we had free cable.
Good enough.
Of course, at the time there was only 6 channels anyway, right?
Well,
Or whatever they were.
yeah. Well,
$5 a month, something. Like
yeah.
that.
It was $5 or $6 a month.
Yeah. And
I think he got in on the ground floor. He was doing it before anybody did it, and within 5 years, the cable TV was all the rage. But he got on the ground floor, and we had initially. Well, the extra channels were the 3 New York stations. We had 9, 11, and 5 WNEW. We picked up WOR in Chicago. The WSBK from Boston we had for many years, and they carried the Red Sox games, or half the Red Sox games, something like that. Ask the Manager, remember that show? It was on Sunday night where people would write in and ask the manager questions.
I don't remember that.
It was a great show. And then we had, and WTBS was the first really superstation out of Atlanta. So we got the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Atlanta Braves. We actually had
a lot of baseball.
We probably had more stuff.
Probably more than some of the Nationals.
Yeah. Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, Cubs, and Braves. We had. I think the OR may have even carried the White Sox too. I forget. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. He had a good station. He had a good.
And now we don't even.
No,
we don't get any of those channels other than TBS. And those were fun, watching the New York City ads.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
What's the story, Jerry?
9/11.
That's the story. Crazy Eddie. His prices are insane.
Yeah, Crazy Eddie.
The Collingwood and the Seville. When you're going looking for a hotel in New York. Yeah.
Great. It was a great station. It was a great station.
Oh.
Now we got to fight for our local news, or not local news. Our local station, our public access.
Yeah, I don't know. Are they back on the air?
Yeah, supposedly. You got a call down in Albany, Schenectady, so they'll flip the switch down there until the cable is repaired or something.
Well, I guess it's repaired now. The last Isabel posted a notice yesterday on Facebook that.
But he said they still have to switch.
No. Subsequent to that,
Okay.
that they're back to where we can just throw the switch again. Yeah, which is a nice setup, but it was a lot nicer, frankly, when he ran the place. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know,
Because
just
he didn't have to report to anybody. He was his own boss. He could do what he wanted to do.
Right.
And, you know, whatever the people wanted, he tried to accommodate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see. Now, I see they're adding more stuff to the capital budget, but there were only 3 aldermen there. How were they able to do that? There was a committee of the whole meeting. It wasn't a regular common council meeting. You can't do that, can you?
If there's 3 members,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, they changed the agenda. Don't you need 4 votes to do that? I think so.
I don't know.
I think you need 4 votes to amend the agenda. But who cares? They don't pay attention.
Well, wasn't
to
that
stuff.
on the agenda?
I don't think so. Might have been.
Yeah. I was going to go last night because I wanted to see what they tried to do to Ron, what they thought they were going to do to Ron, and there was not much in the paper about it. Dybus had 9 points that he wanted explained or he wanted taken care of. Nothing was in the paper about it.
So you should have gone.
Yeah, I should have. But during the whole meeting, he said he was going to not voting for anything. I'm voting no. At the end of the meeting, aye.
The Divishman?
Dybus, yeah.
Wow. Well, I don't know what to make of it. What's Shara been up to?
You know, I haven't talked to Mike probably in 2 months, 3 months.
Wow. Of course, you weren't talking to us for about 2 months either. What did you do all summer? You were skipping your show here.
Every time I skip the show is because I either had a doctor's appointment or something going on.
Well, you look healthy. You feeling good?
Yeah, I feel really. I did forget one meeting. I did forget one. It came to be 10:30. Lane says, "Weren't you supposed to go to a cop?" I said, "Oh, gee."
Well, you know, you get used to staying home after a while. Yeah.
So I told her last night, I says,
So you don't skip Sunday
make sure
Mass.
I'm
Once you
up.
start skipping Sunday
Oh,
Mass,
no, that's
years can go by.
yeah.
I've been I don't know how this started. I found a bunch of old photographs of my mother, and I started posting them, and then after a while it becomes an obsession, you know.
Yeah.
And it was the wedding pictures. And I don't even know why I did that.
Did you identify everybody in all the pictures?
Just about, yeah. To the extent I could, and a lot of them had writing on them, and but I was. What the heck brought up my mother's picture? I had a picture with the wedding cake. I don't know where that came from. Then I posted it, and the next thing I know, I got all the wedding pictures. Well, I don't even have all the wedding pictures up, but then I found this. I'm finding other stuff from different places, and then I'm realizing that some of these things go together.
Yeah.
And, so I'm nowhere near done, but I've I've got, I don't know, about 80 pictures of my mother over her course of her life, in more or less chronological order, to the extent that I could, in chronological order.
They're interesting.
And it's amazing the number of pictures I have of her from her youth.
Yeah.
One of her uncles was a photography hobbyist. And,
oh, really?
And he did the wedding pictures too. I mean, really good stuff. So there's always pictures of her in her latest dress, or or the junior prom, or the.
You see that?
I haven't seen much, or I'm not sure if I've even got anything from her high school graduation, which surprises me, because that was a huge event. She was valedictorian of her class, and I've never seen a picture of that. I gotta go to Aunt Betty's house. Aunt Betty's still alive. She just broke her hip. She's 93.
Wow.
But Aunt Betty used to have.
My sister's 93.
She used to have 3 cameras everywhere she went. She had her regular still shot camera, a Polaroid, so she could get instant gratification, and she had a stereo camera.
Really?
Yeah, she had a stereo slide camera. I don't know whatever happened to that, but the joke in the family was Aunt Betty takes 100 pictures at every event and nobody ever sees them. So there's like. We know there's got to be rooms full of photographs at her house, but we haven't seen them.
When my mother-in-law passed, or my father-in-law, we decided to clean out his house, my wife and her sister went through the pictures. I don't know who this is, I don't know who that is, and they put all the pictures they didn't know who they were in a pile. They were going to throw them away. My son comes over and he says, "What are you doing with those pictures?" So those are the ones we're going to throw away. These are going to. No, he says, "You can't throw those away." He says, "Those are old pictures." So he's got half a dozen of them on his walls at house.
And he doesn't know who they are either.
He don't know who they are. He says, "But those are great pictures," he says.
Well, I have got a magnificent collection of somebody else's family here in various places. Again, I got some in the loft over the garage, and some of this. I found a box in the attic. My father's stepfather was Des Nichols. I don't know if you remember Des. He was very active in the American Legion. He was a World War I vet, and a real character. I mean, a real super duper character. And Des was one of 6 or 7 children in the Nichols family. He was the only one to get married, and he didn't get married till he was in his 50s.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, let's see. Yeah, he was 40. Let's see, they got married in 49 plus 4. He was 53 when he got married.
Wow.
So he never had children. None of them had children. And Des was the black sheep of the family. All the others lived together. Des always lived somewhere else, even as a bachelor. He'd be living in the Barnes Hotel or someplace. So. Even the old family pictures, you see everybody together, and Des is like, just a couple of feet away from the others in the portrait, in the group shots. But as it turned out, he was the last survivor.
Really?
He was by no means the youngest, but he ended up with everybody else's stuff. All his adult siblings who. Only one died in childhood. The rest all lived to adulthood, and they never threw anything out.
So he had everybody's.
He was really pissed when he finally got the rest of the house, because he had the upstairs and one of his brothers had the downstairs, because his sister, who died in 1954, had a friend who worked for a book publisher, and she got all the latest books. I mean, a lot of it was trash, but but all the Book of the Month clubs, whatever.
Yeah.
So there were like hundreds of books, and Des loved to read, and he was so mad when he found out there were all those books there that he was never told about. And all they had to do was, when they're done with it, Des, would you like to read the book?
Go downstairs, pick one up.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it never happened. So Des dies. And he has, well, I mean, he's got some living cousins, but no close relatives. And he leaves everything. By this time, my father's dead, so he can't even leave it to my father. So he leaves everything to my father's sister and my mother, who is no relation to him whatsoever, not even step anything, you know. So we, you know, among the two families, we kind of divided stuff up. But, you know, then after my mother died, I ended up with everything. So I've got all these family photographs going back to 1898 or earlier, which are amazing. And I know a lot of these people, but they're not anybody's ancestors. They're not anybody's ancestors. There's just a whole family, a huge family that died. The family just died out.
And nobody to take
and
the
there's,
pictures.
you know, I do occasionally hear from a distant cousin or interested in the collection, and I always promise to give it to them, and I never get around to them. Maybe I will this time. I don't, you know.
Yeah.
They pop up every few years. I don't even know how to get a hold of them, but the one photograph from 1898 fascinates me. It was a family picnic. If Mohawk Mills Park had been open, then I'd say that's where it was. But it was. I mean, this is like 15 years before Crescent Park opens. More than that. But I'm looking at this picture, and Dez is the 2-year-old in the front row.
Really?
Okay. Now, I only knew him as an old man because he was old when he was 50. But he's 2 years old in this picture. And he identified everybody in the picture. They were all members of the Nichols family, from, you know, aunts and uncles and cousins and all this stuff, and his brothers and sister. And I'm looking at this, and there's these people are all at least in their 20s in the picture. His mother, his Aunt Sarah, his Aunt Mame, his Aunt Frank. I don't know what her real name was, but she was always called Frank. I knew all those people.
Really?
They're adults in 1898, and I knew every one of them.
Wow. Then they lived to be an old.
Yes, they all lived into their 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, his mother was a battle axe. She was, you know, I don't know whether she was always that way, but she was.
Disciplinarian.
Well, no. She was wacky.
Oh, really?
You know, my grandparents lived upstairs, and when we'd go over to visit, my grandmother would always tell me, no, don't run around and make any noise because Dez's mother is sick. Okay, she was sick for the decade before she died that I knew her.
She was sick for 100 years, right?
Yeah. And I find out later that she used to walk around the house with her pocketbook all the time, and she kept all the family silver in the pocketbook because she was afraid somebody was going to steal it.
Was that true, or was that just a story?
No, that's true. No, that's true. And she used to accuse my grandmother of stealing from her, and my grandmother. I mean, if ever there was a walking saint, it was my grandmother. You know, I mean, it was just like she was the most kind-hearted, and this crazy woman is just wow.
Yeah.
And I only knew her. You know, I never remember ever talking to her. She just always had that. She had the wild hair, and she just had that mad look.
You were afraid to say anything to her.
Yeah, and her adult children all lived with her, and one of them, Irene, was in a wheelchair as long as I knew her. You know, the two brothers died. Why was it? My grandmother died in December of '68, and that left Des all alone upstairs. His one brother and the sister in the wheelchair both died like 4 months later, 5 months later. And that left his much younger brother, who was in World War II, whereas all the others were in World War I. Yeah. The younger brother, I think he died after my father did, like in '75, and then that's when Des got the whole house, and he died the next year. That was weird.
Family histories are fascinating.
But I got all these, Harris's letters from World War II. Harris Nichols used to be a shoe salesman at Lurie's.
Really?
Yeah. Among other things he did over the years. He always seemed like the playboy type to me, and yet he never got married. They all lived with Mom.
I was a shoe salesman at one time. Short time, couple weeks maybe a month, couple months.
Yeah?
Yeah, at Mortan's. I worked for John Marticello when he ran the shoe department there. It was his shoe department.
Well, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's one of your wife's relatives?
Yeah, John is my wife's cousin. His sister was here a few months ago. Not his sister, his daughter. His daughter was here a couple months ago.
Now, is this little Johnny's father? The one who met Joe DiMaggio?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. This is John, him, the one who met Joe.
Oh, this is he himself.
Yes, he himself.
Oh.
Yeah, his daughter was here a few months back. They live in Arizona. She's got a son.
Well, he's got to be around your age, then, right? He would have been.
John was a little younger than me.
Yeah.
A few years younger. But saw a picture of his
But that's a good story, so we might as well tell it. We've probably told it before, but nobody watches the archives of the show. He had a heart condition. He was like 7, 8 years old when the Yankees came to town in 1942. Yeah. And somebody arranged for him to meet his hero, Joe DiMaggio, and so there's pictures in all the papers. And, it's like one of these, Make-A-Wish type things where you're expecting the kid to die, and you want to, give. And he lived, all things considered, a pretty long life after that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah. I mean, he grew up, had a family, and still died young. But
he still died young.
But it's still great.
His grandson looks exactly like him. If you saw the picture of the grandson, you'll say, well, John, that's John when he was a kid. Exactly like him. It's amazing.
Wow. Anyway, what would you say? His sister came, or his daughter?
His daughter.
His daughter.
His daughter came. They hadn't seen her for probably 20 years, 25 years. She finally showed up. Matter of fact, she came to Judy and Ray Ludwin's anniversary party, I think it was. That's why she came. Had to have been an anniversary party.
So, are you related to Bert DeRose somehow?
Yes, Elaine is a cousin to Bert.
Oh.
Elaine's Elaine's mother and Bert's father. Wait a minute.
We're cousins.
DeRose. I'm trying to think back because I don't pay attention to this stuff.
What do you mean? When your wife speaks, you don't write it all down and
no, I
commit it to memory? Well,
I guess that's one of my faults. I don't listen.
One of my second cousins, once removed, emails me yesterday and asked me to explain again how we're related to each other. Because it goes back a ways. Yeah. Especially from her perspective, because she's a generation younger than I am. So I go through the whole thing. Her great grandmother and my grandfather were brother and sister. And, okay, so she got that all down.
Let me. Now I got it. Okay.
Huh? You got it?
Bert's mother.
Bert's mother.
And Elaine's father were brother and sister.
Oh, they're that close.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, it's only first cousins. Wow.
Yeah, first cousins. Yeah.
Wow. So now I got to explain to Bert how that makes him related to Groucho Marx through you. Which was the rest of my story. So I said, now that you got that one down, let me remind me to tell you sometime how we're related to Groucho Marx. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's interesting going back, trying to figure out who you're related to. And who
You run for office, you're related to everybody.
everybody. Yeah.
But it really is amazing how. I realize it's convoluted the way I do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But the fact that you can bounce from one relative to another relative to another relative to another relative, and incorporate just about everybody you know, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It really is. You know, and it's more than just a degree of separation thing. You know, I'm 4 degrees removed from John Quincy Adams. But that's only because I met somebody who met somebody who met somebody. I'm talking about people who are related, who get married, who's other than that. The spouse is related to this one, and
yeah. They go back. Go back forever.
They go sideways forever.
Yeah.
And that's how we're related to Groucho Marx through Zeppo. Had to be through Zeppo. But that one's too much of a stretch, because I cheat on that one, because you got to go. Zeppo Marx's wife Barbara divorced him and married Frank Sinatra. Okay.
Okay.
Now, we only get related to Frank Sinatra by going back the other way through Mia Farrow, his previous divorced wife, and that's not really fair. You can't.
No, that's
you can't.
Yeah, that's,
you can't link to a family by a subsequent divorce and then go back through a prior divorce, especially when they had no children between them. However, that does connect you with Woody Allen and Andre Previn and all kinds of interesting people. No, the key is Mia Farrow, because Mia Farrow's mother. This is the Amsterdam connection. Mia Farrow's mother, Maureen O'Sullivan, was married to James Cushing, who was from Amsterdam, whose brother John went to school with Uncle Si, actually, in 1940, class of 40. And John Cushing was Kevin's father, Kevin Cushing's father. Kevin and Joey and John and Tom. Yeah. So from there you get the whole Amsterdam connection.
Yeah.
You get into the Carriolas and the whole West End, and
I went to Camp Agami.
well, what the
Speculator.
heck is that? Oh, okay.
It was the camp for the YMCA.
Troubled youngsters.
No,
it's the YMCA.
Well, yeah, but that was get us off the street for the summer, and Kirk Douglas was the counselor there at the time.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Only he was Izzy Dembski back then.
Yeah, and I was.
Meant nothing to you, right?
No, probably 12, 11 and 12. We went up there, sponsored by different local organizations. I was sponsored by the Nick Stoner Club, so I had to write a letter to Nick Stoner Club. So I wrote her, "Dear Mr. Stoner, he's been dead
for 300 years."
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Oh, it's his club.
They must have got a hell of a kick out of that letter.
So you got the spot.
Yeah.
Wow. So did you learn to wrestle?
I learned to swim.
Now was that was on the Little Sagandaga, right? That camp, or was it on the Lake Pleasant? My recollection is it kind of.
I think it was Lake Pleasant.
I thought it kind of ran in between the two of them, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Camp Agami. I think I think the newspaper had an article on it. What's his name over the WVTL? Had an article.
Mr. Cudmore?
Mr. Cudmore had a big article.
The other talk show.
The other talk show. It was interesting.
Did we ever finish that story you were starting about the other talk show? What were they talking about? Or they weren't talking about?
Oh, the city budget and the roof and
Oh yeah.
what they were going to put. They were going to give Wisbicki a tough time. They wanted answers.
Yeah, well, I'm entitled to answers.
Well, there weren't any answers. There weren't.
It's a shame that Divus is the only one who can come up with the questions.
Yeah. And during that meeting of the whole, like I said, I wasn't there, but the paper said.
That's all right, we can make it up.
The paper said that during this discussion, Mr. D. Casadas interjected something that I forget what the hell. What you got to read the paper. I just scanned the newspapers. But, he took it upon himself to make some statements again that he's not supposed to. He's supposed to be an advisor. Ask him a question, fine, he answered, but he takes right over the meetings.
Nature abhors a vacuum, and boy, if ever there's a vacuum, it's in that room, right? Well, these corporation councils, they all think they're running the city.
Yeah. And Gina went right along with what the mayor wanted. She sponsored a couple of resolutions that nobody else wanted to sponsor, but she sponsored them.
Our debt situation's got to be kind of up there at this point, isn't it?
What situation?
The debt, the city debt, because they borrow for everything.
08, 09, the debt was $14 million. As of yesterday, it was 27 million.
Oh, dear God in heaven. Are you kidding me? It's doubled?
Yep. And
or nearly doubled?
And they want to borrow another.
Oh, my God.
They want to borrow another 150,000 or 200,000. And from what I understand, when they finish borrowing this next time.
And it's not like we were in good shape when it was 14 million, because that was they were warning us then.
When they finish this year's budget, when they finished with all their borrowing, they're going to be within $3 million of our budget limit.
Of the borrowing limit? Oh my God! Wow.
But, that's okay. They'll do something. They'll finagle something.
They'll just make up some more imaginary revenues.
Smoke and mirrors.
And someday it'll all collapse, and everybody will say, "Well, what happened?"
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting for somebody on the radio today to ask about last night's meeting, but nobody called in, so I kept my mouth shut. I'll wait until the mayor comes on the next.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We got our own show here.
That's right.
Well, what time's it getting to be?
I have no watch, no clock, nothing.
Well, you know what? That's probably enough.
Probably.
I'm off to Amherst, Massachusetts later today. The niece from Philadelphia, Mary's niece, is on the Northeastern field hockey team, and they're playing UMass at Amherst. So we figure, well, what the heck? That's a couple hours from here.
Nice trip. An expensive trip. At $4.10 a gallon.
Yeah, or $4.20. Even crossing the border, it's going to be.
Massachusetts is a little bit cheaper than New York State.
It is.
Yeah, and Connecticut also.
But you know what? The last time I went, I have traditionally tried to leave here with like half a tank so that I can get into Massachusetts and get the gas cheaper. Yeah. It was no cheaper on the turnpike anyway. It was usually 5 or 10 cents a gallon cheaper, right. And it was no cheaper than it was on Guy Park Avenue.
Usually when I go down to my sister in Connecticut, they'll take me to the gas station, which is probably 10 minutes from their house. Fill up my car before I come back home. Make sure And that was the cheapest in the area in Massachusetts at the time. So, and I can't remember the.
Yeah.
But Elaine got a little upset with me the other day. I put gas in my car, $5, 5 gallons of gas cost me $20. So I come home and says, we're not going to do a lot of traveling this summer or this winter. She said, why? I said, not with those gas prices. She blew up. I don't go anywhere now. I said, well, you're going to go less places.
You know, my daughter has the throughway plate equivalent of the Easy Pass because she commutes to Albany,
Yeah.
so she can get from here to Albany without paying the toll because she pays it annually. But the way this works is you can go like 30 miles without paying the toll. So she can get to exit 24, but not 23.
If you go from
20
exit 25, is it? Or 26 in Schenectady?
25 to 24 or 26 is free.
Yeah.
But I don't have to worry about that because I got the Easy Pass, and we're gonna
I
go.
do too, but
I can get to exit 24, and then I get off at 24 and take I-90 all the way to the Berkshire Spur.
Yeah.
And then to go from B1 to B3 is less than 30 miles, so I don't pay on that.
Right.
And then the first six exits on the turnpike are now free.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to pay anything. I'm not going to pay a toll. I'm not going to pay a toll the whole distance because I'm getting off actually at exit 4.
Well, you're paying through the Easy Pass, but
Well, yeah, but that's I'm not paying any more. The
Yeah.
Easy Pass is covered. I mean, whether I use it or not, it's already paid. So
you get off at exit 24 and you take the Berkshire Spur.
Yeah.
You save money. It's the same way of coming back.
And coming back is free. That's good. Assuming I have the Easy Pass.
They fined me $30 one time.
Yeah, they've done that to me. You know what? I don't even pay attention to it, and then they don't do anything.
Oh, really?
Well, if you don't have, but it's usually baloney. It's all. I had the Easy Pass with me one time, and it didn't go off going through one of 6 different things I went through. And sure enough, I got this letter. You owe us $100 for cheating on the Easy Pass.
Well, what happened is
baloney I do.
My thing ran out, and I had changed credit cards.
Yeah.
In the meantime.
Oh yeah.
So there was nothing to charge against. So I complained to them. I bitched, and they said, "Well, you got to take care of it online," which is a lot of bullshit. Because
you know what? Nothing ever happens if you don't. It's incredible. I owe them $100 from like 7 years ago. I've never heard from them.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I paid them the $30, and
well, good for you.
But
because that money goes to keep the canal open.
They lost because I don't take the throughway anymore.
There you go. You
Okay?
showed them.
All right, to hell with them. They'll save that $5 every time I go to Albany.
You're not in a hurry.
I'm not in a hurry.
And when I went to Albany State, and I commuted the last 2 years, and we would always look for new ways to come home. And so I think I know just about every possible combination. And I put it into use a couple of weeks ago. One of the routes, nice route, is to take Route 20, coming from Albany now.
Yeah.
Take Route 20 as far as the Duanesburg Churches Road, and that kind of loops up and hangs a left and connects with Route 30, just a little south of the Montgomery County line, or around the Montgomery County Schenectady line, and then you just take Route 30 in. Well, I mean, it's a little longer than taking the thruway, but it's a beautiful ride through the country. So I take it the other day, and I get all the way to the point where the Duanesburg Churches Road turns and goes toward Route 30, and there's a barrier up that says local traffic only, bridge out. Now I'm probably within sight of my destination at this point, but no bridge. no getting there.
No getting there.
But I was able to take a right, and now I'm in completely foreign country, and I don't have the GPS, but I have a,
You know what direction you're going in.
I more or less, although like I'm kind of getting the feeling that I'm kind of double tracking back toward Rotterdam, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, that road becomes the road that runs along the west shore of Mariaville Lake. And so once I get into Mariaville downtown, which is the general store at Mariaville Lake, then I knew how to go home, because that was another route I always used to take. But now I discovered another route. That's a pretty ride too, through
most of those rides out in the country are
through
nice.
the Mariaville Lake area. Yeah. I like to. We used to commute from Westmere, which was only a couple miles from Albany State on Route 20. When my father opened his office here, we were still living there, so he would, back in those days, we would go through Rotterdam and past the Republican Park and the town dump down where, and eventually, no, I don't even think we got on Route. I guess we got on Route 5S at that point. Yeah. But that traffic on that is just too fierce these days.
My grandson is going to St. Rose for a year. Then he's going to hopefully transfer to Binghamton.
Really? Which one is this now?
Gunner Robert Crome. His brother or his uncle just died the other day.
Who's that?
Michael Crome. Originally from Hageman.
Wait, one of those young guys who died in the last week? There were like four guys who were younger than me died in the last week.
52, I think.
Jeepers.
51, 52. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he had been sick for quite a few years, disabled for about the last 6 months.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame.
So my grandson, he was a homebody. He hung around the house, played computer games, whatever his thing was, reenacting. I said, this kid's going to be lost when he goes to college. He don't want to go home.
Yeah. That's right. It's all kinds of fantasies you can live out in college, Jimmy.
Yeah. His first, I checked on his Facebook page. It says his new friend, girl, naturally. So I told his mother, I said, forget it. I said, he's not coming home anymore.
That's it. Say goodbye.
Yeah.
Now, what's Vinny doing now that he's out of college?
He's in New York. He's working for a company that does recruiting, a headhunter. Doing pretty good. It's not the best paying job in the world, but he's working. He wants to save enough to go to the West Coast if he can. That's what he's looking for.
Well, it seems to me he's in an ideal job for somebody who wants to advance, right?
Well,
he's headhunting and he sees every job that's
every job available.
And he doesn't charge himself.
No, there you go. So we'll see what he ends up doing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. His buddies that he went to school with, some of his
That's like, there's some jobs that are just I always thought working in an unemployment office has got to be the most secure job in the world, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You know what? When I was in the rug cleaning business, that was a recession-proof industry. Rug cleaning.
Really?
Yes, because
because
people when times were tough, they wouldn't buy a new rug. They'd just clean the old one.
Yeah.
I should have stayed in it. I mean, I was making good money doing that.
I was going to say, it must have been good because my nephew had a rug cleaning business in Albany, and he retired at a real young age.
Jim, I worked as much as I wanted to. That's a fact.
Yeah.
I put a telephone in the kitchen on Trinity Place. I was still living home at the time. Put my own line in, and put an ad in the paper, and the phone rang immediately as soon as the paper came out.
Yeah.
And I never stopped after that. I used to advertise on the radio, and finally, when I went to law school, I cut back on my advertising because I was doing as much work as I could. And I hired a couple of guys to work for me, which is the real way to make money if they're good.
That's right.
But even so, even you're going through law school, it was almost the ideal business to have for me because your brain is working all freaking day in law school, and and analyzing cases and being fast on your feet and all that. So then I'd come home, go clean a rug, back and forth. That's kind of just let the mind unwind, chit chat with the housewife. How are the kids? Oh, you're going to be a rug cleaner the rest of your life? Well, no, I'm going to law school. I'm probably going to be a famous judge someday. But yeah, it was great. It was, and I made good money. I really did. And it was.
Are we going to wind this up or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's time to wind it up. Gavin hopefully will have learned how to be a school board member by next Friday. You're going to be here around next Friday?
As far as I know.
All right then. So we'll be back again next week. I'm Bob Going with Jim Nikosha.
What's the date next Friday?
Oh, I don't know. Probably the 21st.
I think I got to go into September here somewhere.
You're in July.
This is August.
This will go on for a while, so we'll be back again.
September, yeah. Okay.
Whether Jim's here or not, we'll be back again next week with more of the show with no name.
Salute.